Mr. Haroon Malik, it's a pleasure to see you and be in this building again, and also to see you here seated in your office. First of all, I think this is a question that is very relevant considering everything that has happened. How are you feeling, and how does it feel to be here?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much. I think it's great to see you. I think the feeling is one of hope. Okay, inshallah ta'ala, things can begin to move forward. For Pakistan football, for Pakistan, but for the footballers, for the stakeholders of the game, for everyone. And I think this is a time to celebrate and to come together for the betterment of the country and to uplift the sport that we all love and share a common passion for.
Absolutely, I think that's a great message. But personally, because I think that not enough attention is given to that element, I think. How do you feel personally to come back here to sit in this place that obviously you and everyone else around you has fought for, and to see the condition that it was in, and is still in some parts? How does that feel, and what are your thoughts there?
Yeah. That's a difficult question to answer, and there are two very different feelings that I'm going through. Of course, it's been a long, hard personal struggle. There's been a lot of sacrifice, not just by myself, but each of the NC members has played a critical and important role in this. Beyond that, there's a feeling of gratefulness to Dr. Famida Mirza, to the government machinery, to the Punjab Board of Revenue for coming together to make this happen. I think there's also a feeling of sadness to see everything that could have been that did not happen in the last 1 year. And when you look at Football House, सबसे पहले आपको footballers की images ज़हन में दौड़ना शुरू करती हैं. And when you think about them, inshallah ta'ala, there's a lot that we can do for them, and that needs to be the focus. So we need to look forward.
And that's a nice segue. So, speaking of what we can do for footballers and how we can help them, because God knows the country and everyone has let them down in one way or the other over the last decades or so. What are your plans there, just broadly speaking? I know we can't get into specifics at the moment, but there was a lot of optimism, a lot of fanfare around the time when the takeover happened, and people were excited about the national team camps and the competitions and everything that was happening. So do you have anything to say about that to Pakistani football fans, about where you hope to take this and achieve the next step?
Yeah, so I'm super excited, but before that, I think we should recognize the contributions of FIFA towards Pakistan football. They've been with us on this journey since 1948 when the Qaid signed us into FIFA. You covered that in one of your previous episodes as well. I'm a fanboy, I'd watch you. So FIFA has been a constant partner throughout this journey. Today, they are saying, let's begin football. Tell us what Pakistan needs. We have all the resources available. We have everything available. It's a matter of getting started. There's a few steps to getting started. There's bank accounts, and there's having someone to actually be able to do something. Moving beyond that, I think there's an opportunity, Ismail, that to me is beyond exciting. The implementation of department teams going away has not been good. But it has happened, and it has brought us to a certain point in time. Where do we go from here, right? To me, the logical answer is to have a pan-Pakistan club championship to determine who the top 20 clubs across the country are. To do that, you divide Pakistan into X number of zones, say you divide it into 8 zones.
Yeah.
You get everybody to register through FIFA Connect ID. So the election process begins. you have a championship in each of those 8 zones.
Yeah.
Let's say we put a prize pool of 50 lakh for each of those 8 zones. We have that championship. That championship becomes the club's scrutiny, which is a part of the election process. So we're moving towards election
through competition.
this. From those 8 zones, you pick out the top 8 teams. So you come to a pool of 64, which is exactly the number that you need. You do a pool of 64, and you start from scratch, and you say, now we find the club champion of Pakistan, and then you support them just like we supported the women's tournament. So they get money to participate, they get money to come in and play, and then we can set a meaningful prize pool for them. We can set 10 million rupees. So 1 crore as a prize pool we set for the club championship. We identify the top 20 clubs, and that's the 20 clubs that you then induct into
Pakistan Premier League.
Proper league system. You have a system of promotion and relegation, but you support those clubs with resources, you support them with training, and you put them on a pathway to club licensing. And I really think this is an ideal way for us to move forward. I know we're at a tough place, but we have the knowledge, we have the ability, we have the resources to get this done. And this is what our players deserve. This is what our coaches deserve. This is what referees deserve. So it needs to happen, and it can happen. And 5 saal mansuba nahi hai, we can do it this year.
Yeah, and that's incredibly exciting. So is this just a thought or an idea in your head, or is this something that you have already decided, okay, whenever the right time comes, whenever you're able to implement this on the ground, whether it's in a month, in 2 months, in 3 months, whenever that is, you are ready to get this started? Have you fleshed out the entire process in front of you?
For the men's club championship, for the women's club championship, and for the futsal club championship, this is happening.
Okay.
With the prize pools that I've mentioned.
It's decided, it's established.
It is happening.
Okay.
Right? To your point, when do we get started? Yeah, when these administrative hurdles we cross, but it is happening. This is how we breathe life into football in the country. It's not going to happen by itself. And this is just one of the things that begins to happen.
Yeah.
We need to identify talent, but we need to identify players as well, so that we can begin those national team camps, men's, women's, youth. When those camps begin, we identify teams, we put them on a proper salary structure. If you play for Pakistan, you represent Pakistan, you don't play for 300 rupees a day. You get paid, you get respected, you get what is due for representing the country. All of these things, they must happen if football is to come back to life again.
Yeah, and those are really exciting plans, and I think one of the things that Pakistani football fans have now, I think they've had enough, certainly of all this political turmoil and everything, and you hear a lot of people talking about, okay, I just want football to happen in this country, I just want activity to happen, I want the federation to just allow football to happen, in the sense that you have people who are looking after the football activity of the country, the football activity continues to flow like you've said. With that in mind, how important do you think that is to, continuing also political stability in the country? Because instability and lack of football activity, I've noticed, go hand in hand, right? Whenever there is a political instability, there is a lack of football activity and vice versa. So how important is football activity to you generally to also keep the politics at least out of it? Because it's like no politics is good politics, right? Because jitni kam political baat hogi utna acha football pe focus karo.
So when I think about this sport, there's a couple of different aspects to it. And I think the administrative aspect of the sport is not less important because if the administrative aspect is functioning, so the politically elected representatives वो अच्छी तरह काम कर रहे हो, वो अच्छे काम कर रहे हो जो कि वो चाहते हैं कि करें. So that needs to happen. What I think we need to look back at, Ismail, though, is we've been 200 forever.
Yeah.
Right?
As far as I can remember.
We haven't been 200 in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
The last 5. We've been 200 forever. So there's a normalization process that needs to happen. I'll give you 2 examples. Singapore is a country of 3.5 million people. Their federation has 85 people in it. Spain is a country of 45, 50 million. They have 600 people in their federation. We're a country of 220 million people with 11 people in the federation, 4 of them in administration, 1 of them in finance, and 5 people running football for 220 million people. It's just,
It's impossible.
it reflects intention.
Yeah.
So we need to have the intention to change. We need to have the intention to do. And once we're on a pathway, once you experience what football can mean and do for the country, for the people, for the self-respect of individuals involved, I think there's no turning back from that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think inshallah, I think we're all rooting for football activity in the country, and my question generally was more about, not, I understand that every country in the world has a functioning football infrastructure or an ecosystem because of the administration at the back of it. But I mostly meant that the reason why the football is functioning and the administration is so good means that administration news they're not part of the news. You don't know who they are, right? Right. And that's how it should be. Yeah, exactly. So that's what I meant. And I hope we get to a point where, like, everything over here isn't part of the news. I'm sure you don't want to be an active part of the news all the time. You just want to get on with your work. I'm sure whoever becomes a technical director just wants to get on with their work. Everyone just wants to get on with their work and let the football prevail.
So, inshallah ta'ala, and that is my hope as well. But more than hope, there's a few different things that are in the works, that are concrete steps that will walk us towards this path. First and foremost is FIFA Connect ID. FIFA Connect ID is a platform where every single player will be registered. Ismail, everybody will have a FIFA number. But more than that, their record, their history, their player passport, which is 12 to 23 years, it will all be captured in that system, number 1. Number 2, all club data will be present in that system. So the era of having clubs that have votes
Bogus
but
clubs.
not players, we do away with that through this system. So that's first and foremost. The second is implementing a system of governance and rules. So this is not just about the sport itself, but about the administration, about the finances, and making all of this transparent. So all accounts need to be published and put online. All lists, be it referees, coaches, upcoming trainings, everything needs to be put online so that it's accessible to everyone to come and see kya ho raha hai, kaun kar raha hai, kaun
Players का भी
involved
पता
hai,
चले ना, players
का
कौन
पता
है,
चले.
top scorer कौन है,
Right.
assist किसकी हैं, all of
Why
that.
somebody got selected, why somebody
Yeah.
didn't get selected. So all of this transparency needs to be built into the system. And then the third is a strong functioning organization that's operationally efficient. So a general secretary that is actually the CEO of the organization, that has a functioning organization underneath the CEO, with the president and the executive committee providing more of an oversight and a guidance and drumming up political support from the government for the sport itself, rather than being involved in day-to-day operations. So these 3 things must happen. and they build towards what you're saying, that we need to get out of the news, we need to get on with the sport.
Yeah, that's a great slogan. Just lastly, I have one question for you, because I think Pakistani football fans have been, wondering about this. This is a hot topic. What can you tell us right now in this position about the FIFA suspension and how that, or you should, maybe if you can't give us a specific timeline, that's fine. But what can you tell us right now about the lifting of the FIFA suspension now that you're back in place?
So the letter that FIFA issued on April 7, 2021, last year, had a few preconditions for the lifting of the suspension. One was the return of the FIFA House.
Yeah.
The second precondition was the return of digital and physical assets. So, there's a few things that you can walk around and see for yourself, see where we are. But right now, as soon as we have access to the accounts, we will immediately write to FIFA for the lifting of the suspension. Like you, I want the Pakistani flag flying high and proud at any of these 9 international events that are planned for this year that we can participate in. We're actively working towards the resolution of the banking issues. They're being contested aggressively by the perpetrators of the takeover. We hope that at some point we can all move towards putting Pakistan ahead of everything, putting football ahead of everything, and say, it's time to move forward, and to move forward together. So we're happy to do that. But we need to get out of this limbo that we're in. We need to think about Pakistan. We need to think about the footballer जिनके घरों के चूल्हे बंद हो गए हैं पिछले 1 साल में. And it's not a sob story. It is what is rightfully theirs.
Yeah.
So that's where we need to.
Yeah. Mr. Haroon Malik, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for taking out time. Hope to talk to you in the future as well.
Inshallah.
And hope we can get to talk about the football. And Pakistani
the
football.
Sport itself. And rather than me, I hope you get to start talking to our national team players who've come back from an amazing tournament very soon.
Yes, absolutely. Inshallah.
That's the dream.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much.